Our recess for the policy considerations for the Board of County Commissioners on July 30th, 2024. Gary, would you please introduce the first item?
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith. All commissioners are present. The next policy session is Main Street Courthouse Committee. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, will present. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So as you know, we have the courthouse, which is going up and is still on time and on budget. We expect to receive those keys on May 1st of 2025, and we'll be vacating the Main Street Courthouse at that time as well. We will take the month of May to move. We're working on that schedule right now, but just be aware, too, it'll be a little bit before we actually get in the building, get it open to the public. But today I'm here to talk about the Main Street Courthouse and what the future of that particular building and some of the property around it looks like. So today we're here to talk about what a committee makeup would be, who would be on that committee. There's a few suggestions here that we have, how many individuals we would have on the committee as well as who would chair it. And also the term, which we are suggesting we would have a limited term. We don't want to take a long time to make some of these decisions and get recommendations back to the board. And also like the number of recommendations we would give to the board, which staff is recommending 3. So we are just here to have that discussion. How do you want to proceed and move forward? And get some input from you on what that looks like.
Are you going to read the recommendations, Nancy?
I can.
Would you please?
Yes. So, yeah.
Your background information is well written too. Clackamas County owns the Main Street Courthouse, as well as the property immediately adjacent known as Liberty Plaza. The decision regarding the future of the property is within the authority of the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners.
That is correct.
The City of Oregon City leadership and downtown business owners have expressed an interest in what will occupy the property after it is vacated by the county. In order to have conversations and input from Oregon City stakeholders, staff is proposing initiating a limited-term committee of no more than 10 individuals, but not necessarily limited to this. Could you read those, please, Nancy?
Yes, the possible participants are City of Oregon City's leadership and staff, Downtown Oregon City Association, Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, Oregon City Business Alliance, Clackamas County Economic Development staff, and 2 county commissioners.
Okay. And with that is the who on this. Of course, setting some timelines is, it's just a matter of scheduling. That's not the issue. I think the issue is what's going to be discussed at this meeting once the committee is put together. And Commissioners, would you like to offer some? Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so my first thing comes to mind is what will be the do-outs for the Oregon City stakeholders? What are they going to report back to us? What's that going to look like?
Well,
The other thing, the other comment is that no more than 10. My recommendation is we have 10 from 10 different organizations plus or 8 different organizations plus the 2 county commissioners. So we have as wide a input on the committee, on the stakeholders committee as possible. I'd like to hear as many options and ideas for the future of the old courthouse as possible.
do-outs, do you mean outputs? Is that what you?
Yeah, exactly. What are they going to come to the Board of Commissioners with in terms of their recommendations? What exactly are they going to be tasked with recommending?
So something that I have repeatedly said, which I think has general agreement with this Board of County Commissioners and folks in the community and the electeds in the community, I think the number one goal is economics, not necessarily on how much if we were to sell the property, on what the return on investment would be to the community and to the tax base. For instance, would we turn it into some multi-use facility where private industry could come in and take over, established businesses, retail, as long with maybe, you could throw a dentist office in there, for instance. You could have office space along with, retail, that type of crafts, that type of thing. So I think, my vision of that is pretty open. It's subject to interpretation. I do think a return on the investment and getting the property back on the tax rolls would benefit not only Clackamas County, but Oregon City as well, and the business community in general. We've heard a lot from the business community saying, oh, you're going to leave, and it's going to strand us. I don't exactly believe that necessarily. I think there are some ancillary businesses, for instance, law firms that are situated downtown on Main Street in Oregon City because they do business at the courthouse, okay? I don't think they're going to pack up and move up here because guess what? There's no place for them up here. We don't have those established. So they'll just drive up the hill and do their business up here and then go back to their offices. I've also heard reports of some of the businesses in downtown. They can't wait for the county to get the heck out of downtown because it is not that great profit to their business. So, we hear all kinds of different stories. That's basically one of the do-outs, as you say, Commissioner.
Okay.
That would be mine. And then, of course, the devil's in the details. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I think what I heard initially in this discussion, essentially I'll just use the word scope. We know what's the scope of the committee, and not that we have to answer that today necessarily. Might be an idea maybe to at least maybe get some ideas of what the scope could be, and then maybe we wean that down at some point, knowing there's only 3 meetings. I heard at the OCBA last Tuesday, a number of people came up to me and said, oh, we need to get a committee going. We can't wait till after the court. I go, well, yeah, we're working on that. It's underway. So I think there are concerns about the economic impacts as far as folks leaving. I'm mindful of all the years, decades of actually discussion about potentially the impacts to downtown Oregon City should the county, move out of there. So, and I'm hearing actually conflicting ideas of what those impacts might be. It might be better for the county to leave or so forth. But I do know a lot of people that work there are probably still want to have lunch there. It's a lot of food establishments in downtown Oregon City. I think a lot of people love to go down there, and there's not much food establishments up here of like there's not as many tablecloth type of places to eat up here that as is down there. But getting a scope established, again, not necessarily today, would be a value, and I can see that by this staff presentation that we would be the conveners, but if we have a specific question we want or questions we want answered, and we want to set that scope, I think it's, again, not necessarily today, but incumbent upon us to set the scope.
Okay. Okay. I also do think we need to approve of the participants in there.
Is there a mic off?
Excuse me. Yeah, I had to blow my nose. So I think we do need to approve of what the participants, generally speaking, would look like with this too. Commissioner West?
I think scope is right on, understanding the scope. Also, what is this thing worth? That's going to determine our scope, is what is the value? What shape is this property truly in? Is it truly about to fall into the river? And if so, how does that impact the land's value? Is that by engineering, can that be fixed to improve the asset that we have here? I am cognizant that the courthouse acts as an anchor tenant for Main Street. We've seen, at least my home jurisdiction of Wilsonville, not be so supportive of anchor tenants recently, but it makes it hard to redevelop areas that you want to be like a Main Street in Wilsonville, that's town center. In Oregon City, I would assume it would be this really historical, beautiful stretch of blocks we have with small businesses, and we have people going there for all different types of reasons. And one of those big reasons now as an anchor tenant is the courthouse. And when we look at the scope, would it be some type of anchor tenant that would fit the manner, the character of Oregon City to maybe go there? And does zoning have to happen? Like, what does it what else has to change to be able to attract private industry to want to develop there? And then what is the what is the market value for the county, and what should the county, the taxpayers throughout the county receive for that asset, I think is also important. I don't think that we should necessarily give the asset away if it has value, but I think that we should try to find that win-win, because Oregon City is in the county and it's historic, and then also making sure that we are getting the value for it that we're due is kind of where I'm sitting. And I think you don't need to know that to know the scope, because your scope is going to change, is going to vary based on the value of that asset.
We do have an appraisal on this building, land and the building. I don't remember what it is. We can make that available to the committee. I've been approached by some developers on this, and what the development community, the builders who are going to do the heavy lifting on this, has proposed to me, since we really don't know the condition. We can have an engineer go in and guess that this is going to happen and this is going to happen. But this board has been involved in too many construction projects, and I have in my personal life to know that you don't know the condition of the property until you start tearing down the walls and looking at the inside. One developer says, why don't you not take any money up front, but have the developer pay the value of the property when it's finished? Now, that is something for consideration that we will probably be approached by, not just one developer, but many. That has inherent risk to it, obviously. But anything we do with this project going forward is going to have risk. This is a very risky endeavor, whether we do nothing and let it sit there vacant, or whether we continue forward and try to design something that's going to be pleasing to everybody in the downtown area. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I just wanted to say there is precedent for this. I know that Milwaukee, when they built and moved into their new facility for downtown, had a developer renovate what was an old historic structure, and it's being utilized really nicely and is still an asset to the downtown core. I'd like to hope that might be a possibility, but as you said, I do agree that having rehabbed old structures, that you never know until you know, and you have to kind of take a hard look at that and what the overall cost would be to manage that. And yeah, I think the biggest issue is the sinkhole behind there, and how would that be re-engineered to make that building safe and appropriate. It is a structure that is really tied not only to the history of this county, but obviously the history of Oregon City as our county seat. So I hope we can move into that discussion as we vacate the building and see who can step forward to help redevelop it. So that's just my
I'm also
2 cents.
concerned, too, that once this committee gets established, there's going to be an expectation that the county is going to provide certain funds to make this sale possible. And evaluation. Well, I don't think we have a budget set aside for this, do we, Gary? No. So we're really going to have to be strategic and creative in that. There is not a pot of $1 million over here sitting aside for us to explore all these wonderful ideas. That's just not the reality of what we're looking at. We have a very old property that there has been a lot of interest in the community, and let's try to bring these ideas forward. We've had some commissioners talk today about scope. I don't think in the next 15 or 20 minutes we can establish scope. Commissioners, what I would like to do today is decide on who is going to sit on the committees and go forward, and then possibly, how would you go about establishing scope, Nancy or Gary?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think that we could, if we are going to have 2 commissioners, for example, on this committee, we could start working with those commissioners to talk about what that scope looks like, gathering that information. I would like to see the scope to be, it's like, what can we do with this property? And it could be everything from someone redevelops the building, and it could be they're taking the building down and going to put something else there, for example. So for me, the scope is not about who is going to do it, but it's like, here are the possibilities. And then after we have that information, as the the commissioners, then we can go out and say, well, then here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to advertise this property, here's what we're looking for. That's how I see the scope.
So I think that's one possibility, absolutely. What I would like to try to establish today, in the very limited time we have, because we have other policy sessions, is who is going to sit on the committee. I've had a lot of discussions with Oregon City Mayor Denise McGriff on this, and we kind of says, you know, it would be nice if the two of us could be co-chairs on this, and that would take in to Oregon City leadership and one of the county commission seats. So I'm going to recommend that Denise McGriff and I are co-chairs on this committee going forward. We have the Oregon City's interest represented, we have the county's interest represented. Commissioner Schrader asked if she could sit on this committee. It's up to the commissioners who we vote going forward on this. I don't know. We will have to decide that. And then as far as like the Downtown Oregon City Association, how do we determine which person is going to sit on that? Do we leave it to the DACA to recommend a couple people to us? Is that
That's
what we're
what I
going to
would
say?
do, yes.
Now, are we saying 2 people from each of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6. So I don't know that we need 2 people from every single organization. I think that becomes too large. If the committee gets too large, it's very difficult to make decisions. So I'm going to recommend that we have 2 county commissioners, that we have 2 Oregon City leadership and / staff. Oregon City decide how that's going to look like. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we have the county economic development staff. Gary, I think one person can do that. We have the Oregon City Business Alliance. We have Oregon City Chamber and the Downtown Oregon City Association. And those are our citizens' representatives, which I think are very important. If we can do the math to have 2 each of those in case there's an absentee where one can't attend the meeting, we hope to be there at 100% of the time, but we know that's not always that way. I know, Commissioners, you have your lights on, and I will get to you. Gary, your comment.
Chair, I suggest what you just said is that just pick 2 commissioners a day to be in the committee, and then those 2 commissioners can work with Mayor McGriff. You can come up with exact names for the committee, and we'll bring them back to you to bless as a board. How's that?
Okay. We have 3 commissioners' lights on. Paul, I believe you were next.
Yeah, thanks. So getting back to the scope, I think the disposition of the property is obviously the very primary thing that needs to be discussed. And one thing, unless I missed it, how long do we think this will last?
So we would like to have it short-term. My recommendation is probably no later than December, the end of December.
Have the work completed by December?
Have recommendations back to the BCC by the end of December.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to just say is that I think that as far as what the economic possibilities are, could be, should be, whatnot, I think that's more the purview of the city than it is ours. So I would, whether that's a separate work that Oregon City does, but, maybe they can bring some of these representatives can maybe bring some of those ideas, but I think the disposition, the condition, and are the primary things I'd like to see for a recommendation. I don't think there's enough time to talk about all the economic possibilities as far as what the building could be or do.
Right.
I think you're probably right on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Commissioner West and then Commissioner Scholl.
I think some of this is going to be market dependent. We could dream whatever we want in a committee, but then there's the market and what's available. Maybe we can be creative in how we can attract some outside funding and eyes and development, but I think that's a major factor here. I'm not like wed to maybe serving on this, but I'm open to it if there's not another commissioner to have that conversation. But as we talk about names here, I know that I do agree with Chair Smith. I like the idea of Chair Smith being one of the commissioners chairing with the mayor, who's in our audience today. Thank you for coming, Mayor McGriff. We'll make sure you're recognized. But I think that's a good idea, but then we would need one other commissioner.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, and I would like to recommend that we consider Commissioner Schrader for the other commissioner on this committee. Again, that would 2 Oregon City, and then 1 from the other organizations, and 2 commissioners brings us to 8 members.
Okay.
And perhaps we can identify another organization or 2 that wants to put a member on for a total of 10. Again, you know, the more people we have to a point, inputting their ideas for potential future of the courthouse, all the better. Now, the other thing, too, is Nancy Bush's recommendation that the Stakeholders Committee get back to us by December. Now, I wonder if that, because we're looking at May of 2025, which will be here before we know it. If we were to get the stakeholders' recommendation in December, would that give us time to make a decision on those recommendations so that when we get close to May of 2025, we're pretty sure what's going to happen? Because that would be very beneficial for the Oregon City stakeholders to have a decision by May of 2025, so the ball's rolling. My concern is that if we wait too long, we roll past May, and then we get this period of time between our departure from the old courthouse and the point in time in which these folks here will know what is going to happen to the old courthouse.
Yeah, Commissioner, that's a really good point, and it's hard to answer that question too, because it depends on what the recommendations are. I'm okay with backing that date up. I just wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to take a look at that. We could back it up to the end of November, for example. Taking a look at some other things that have happened to old courthouses. So Multnomah County sold theirs several months before they moved out of it, for example. Theirs is still sitting empty, which is extremely expensive for the developer.
Yeah, we don't want that.
This building too, longer that we leave it empty, the more expensive it is for us.
Exactly right. So anyway,
So-
let's consider those dates and,
Yeah, I'm happy to do what the
Okay.
board we will make it work.
okay.
Commissioner Scholl, I'm going to call on you for a motion in a moment, but I want a point of clarification. Gary, just because the new courthouse is going to be ready for occupancy in May 25 does not necessarily mean the Main Street courthouse will be completely vacated. I heard it could be up to 3 to 4 months for everybody to move out. Is that true?
It will take time, yes, to move everyone out, to get everything out of the building. It's
You
not
know,
going to
Nancy?
happen.
Yes, I do. So we have a move committee. We have all kinds of committees going on. Our move committee is, we will have to be out of that building and fully functional here, because by law, we have to have court dates set. We will be out of the downtown Main Street by the end of May. We will be, our hope is to be open by the end of May in this courthouse. We will still have cleanup in the downtown courthouse, which we would expect to be done in June, no later than July. So we should.
I think the cleanup might take some time, but, you know, it doesn't mean we can't move forward.
I'm sorry?
Just because there's continued cleanup, we can still move forward.
And that's correct. That is correct.
All right. Commissioner Scholl, I'm going to call on you, maybe 1 or 2 different motions. Do you want to start with the appointment of the commissioners first, or how do you want to approach that?
Okay, let's do the commissioners. I move that we approve the tasking of Chair Smith and Commissioner Schrader as the county commissioners on the Oregon City Stakeholders Board.
Commissioner Scholl has moved that Commissioner Schrader and myself be part of this committee for the Main Street
I
Courthouse.
should have said, I correct myself on committee, Vice Board.
The committee for the Main Street Courthouse. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner West has seconded that. Further discussion? Yes.
Commissioner Schrader, do you want to serve?
Yeah, I really do, because I've been working with I go to a lot of the Oregon City events, and I've had a long-term relationship with them, with the community, and I also want to go there because if Commissioner Smith is there, we work together pretty closely when we were doing the locks committee, and I enjoy working with you, so
Thank you.
that's great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Now I will entertain a motion for the assignment of co-chairs for this committee.
Chair, I move that the co-chairs for the Clackamas County replacement of the Courthouse Committee are Chair Smith from Clackamas County and the Mayor of Oregon City, Denise McGriff.
Second.
Commissioner West has moved that the co-chairs be myself and Oregon City Mayor Denise McGriff for the Main Street Courthouse Committee, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, would you please take the poll?
Chair Smith, I do not have a second on that motion.
Commissioner Schrader seconded.
I second.
Apologies, Chair Smith. I would ask Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Now, let's go to the makeup of the rest of the committee. Gary and Nancy, help me along with this. Or,
So my suggestion is that Chair Smith and Mayor McGriff consult together offline, and then you come back later with actual names of who to be on the committee.
I think that would be acceptable to both myself and Mayor McGriff. I will have my staff person reach out to you, and we'll get a meeting. Anything else that we need to do on this particular policy session?
No.
Okay.
Folks, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate your interest in this, and just, give us input as you see that input is needed, and Mayor McGriff and I will get together shortly to establish who wants to be on this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gary, before we go on to the next policy session, there's a matter that we did not take up this morning, and that's the compensation of our county administrator. Jane, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I believe the motion for the board today is to move to approve a 3.5% merit increase for the county administrator, Gary Schmidt, effective August 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved we approve a 3.5 merit increase for County Administrator Gary Schmidt effective August 1st of 2024. Commissioner Schrader has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Gary,
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I greatly appreciate your trust in me, and it's an honor to serve you as your administrator.
and
Thank
we
you.
are very honored to have you, Gary.
Thank you.
What's next, Gary?
All right, your next policy session is Stabilization Center Update and Program Design Plan. Our team from Health, Housing, and Human Services will present. This is a general update and to seek your guidance on the design plan for the operations. We have a team to present. So the team is, Mary Rumbaugh, Behavioral Health Division Director, Adam Brown, Deputy Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, and Captain Malcolm McDonald from the Sheriff's Office is in the audience as well. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Schmidt. Commissioners, good afternoon. Adam Brown, Deputy Director, Health, Housing, and Human Services.
Mary Rumbaugh, Clackamas County Behavioral Health Division Director. Thanks for having us.
So we're here with an update on the Clackamas County Stabilization Center and seeking your approval of our preliminary program design and site management plan for operations of the facility. I'm going to do some context setting and talk about the project timeline. And then Mary and I will go through our preliminary program design and site management plan. We'll leave plenty of time at the end for questions. As you know, the Stabilization Center is being built to meet community need for rapid behavioral health assessment and crisis stabilization. Currently, Clackamas County community members experiencing a behavioral health crisis do not have enough support resources to get back on their feet. Behavioral health includes mental health and well-being, and related behavior may include substance addiction. Often, these community members draw the attention of law enforcement and are taken to jail or an emergency room. Emergency departments and local jails are simply not equipped to provide the types of supports that these folks need. This project is a partnership between Health, Housing, and Human Services and the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office using the former Women's Center building at 9200 Southeast McBroad in Milwaukee. It is one part of Clackamas County's effort to increase access points for services within our recovery-oriented system of care. Other access points in development include the Recovery Center in Clackamas, which will be addictions-focused, the Resource Center in Oregon City, which is housing and homeless services focused, the Transitional Housing Village in Clackamas next to our current Veterans Village, which is housing services focused, the recovery-oriented scattered site homes, which will have various focus areas, including recovery housing and medical respite housing, and access centers in Estacada and Malala, which will be housing services focused. During a policy session in December, you approved the one-time and ongoing funding plan for the Stabilization Center and approved staff to proceed with solicitations for construction and program delivery services. Shortly after you approved of the funding plan, the Oregon legislature generously allocated $4 million for one-time capital renovation of this site. This will allow the county to reallocate most of the previously approved one-time capital funds, which includes $1 million in community mental health program post-settlement funds and $2.8 million of Metro Supportive Housing Services funds. And you'll see more about this reallocation of the SHS dollars in our carryover spend down update, which we're going to present to you in a few weeks. Since December, we have worked with the project team to finalize the site design for construction solicitation, and you have pictures in your packet today showing that site design. The solicitation was released on July 22nd, and that will be open for 4 weeks. The solicitations for program delivery services will be released in early August, with separate solicitations for the behavioral health crisis stabilization side and the housing stabilization side. All of the vendors are expected to be selected by the end of September, and contracts are anticipated to come to you for approval between September and November, with the construction contracts first, followed by the services contracts later in the fall. From there, construction will start as soon as our contractor is available to get started, and we expect construction to take 9 to 12 months. That has us targeting next year at this time for site opening, which feels like a long time. It is a long time. There is urgent community need. Unfortunately, launching a site like this does take time. So the Clackamas County Stabilization Center will include 2 complementary programs in the north and south halves of the building, and it will serve primarily adults referred by law enforcement, health providers, and mobile crisis responders. It will be a comfortable and safe place for community members who need short-term support, coping skills, and connections to resources to manage a crisis. The building's north half will operate a 24/7 schedule to provide short-term, drop-in behavioral health crisis stabilization services. The building's south half will provide short and medium-term housing stabilization to people experiencing homelessness through referrals from the county's coordinated housing access system. The 2 programs will be complementary, ensuring close coordination and collaboration between the county's behavioral health and housing systems, in addition to our law enforcement partners. The site will be operated by 1 or more community-based organizations experienced in delivering these services, and we're going to release the solicitations for those services separately, but of course, one service provider is welcome to apply for both solicitations, and it would be great if we can have one provider operating both sides of the site. So I'm going to let Mary say more about the behavioral health stabilization programming, and then I'll share more about the housing stabilization program. And go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. What the state has really deemed 23-hour crisis stabilization is really about how long an individual can be at the stabilization center for a continuous amount of time. So the program would be open 24/7. These are individuals that law enforcement and our mobile crisis teams are already responding to, in which somebody is experiencing a mental health crisis. They may be suicidal. They also may have some challenges with addiction. and they really don't rise to the level of needing to be taken to the emergency room, but we don't believe we can put a safety plan in place in the community with their loved ones. So this would be very low barrier. They would have a quick assessment by a multidisciplinary team, including a master level clinician, a case manager, and a peer individual with lived experience. And that individual, again, can stay with us for up to 23 hours. What we know across the state for the crisis stabilization centers that do exist, for example, in Deschutes County, and I just had the opportunity to tour them a couple of months ago, on average, individuals actually only stay 6 to 8 hours. Yep, 6 to 8 hours. Just enough time. It's a recliner model. There will be 8 recliners. They'll have some privacy. It will be quiet. It will be very trauma-informed. They'll have an ability to shower, to change clothes, to get some food. And often that is just enough to allow this person to feel like they're ready to safely go back to their home community. And part of the role of the team will to make sure that they are then connected to follow-up services. So that's sort of the north side of the building, which again is 8 recliners, up to 23 hours.
So the south half of the building will be a housing stabilization program. Similarly, it'll operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with on-site staffing to provide semi-congregate safety off the streets to up to 12 program participants at a time, referred through the county's coordinated housing access system. The average length of stay here is expected to be between 30 and 60 days. Supportive services will be provided to those program participants, including recovery-oriented services and individualized services based on people's needs. So that'll include a development of an individualized recovery-oriented services plan that identifies barriers to be overcome and goals to be achieved in the program. Access to case management, peer support, housing navigation and placement services, and behavioral and physical health services. Access to resources that provide next steps to permanent housing. And access to other support service networks, including physical health services, mental health treatment, substance use treatment, counseling, peer support, financial education, workforce, rent-well courses, and other workshops and resources intended to increase their self-sufficiency. We'll hold community meetings and events there for the program participants. There'll be conflict resolution and mediation, and of course, 24/7 on-site staffing. So that's the program design. I'll say a little bit about the site management, and then we'll open the door for questions. So the current plan is for one or more service providers to do both the site management and the program delivery. And site management includes property management, safety and security, and responsiveness to the surrounding community. We've talked about this a lot in other projects, but property management includes maintenance, repairs, materials and supplies, landscaping, housekeeping, cleaning, and ensuring that the overall condition of the property is maintained to meet county standards. It also includes maintaining a site manual for program participants that outlines things like the program purpose, services offered, governance, participation guidelines, room inspections, policies, and values. On safety and security, we'll work with the service providers to ensure that the site is safe and secure, both for program participants and the surrounding community. The site will contain security cameras. It'll be well lit. Again, 24/7 on-site staffing to carry out perimeter walks for cleaning and security. Drug and alcohol use will not be allowed. Weapons will not be allowed. Camping outside the property will not be allowed. And individuals accessing the housing stabilization program must be referred through the county's coordinated housing access system. They won't be able to walk up for those housing services. And then, of course, responsiveness to the county, the surrounding community is a top priority for the county. We recognize that the success of this program will be contingent upon responsiveness to the community concerns, collaborative problem solving, and engaging the community to meet shared goals. The county and service providers will work with the stakeholders in the surrounding community to initiate and maintain open, transparent, and proactive communication, develop clear expectations and procedures for resolving problems, enhance neighborhood safety and livability while promoting access to services, and foster positive relationships between the site and neighbors. The county isn't new to this site. County programs aren't new to this site. The sheriff's office has been operating programs there for many, many years successfully. We have relationships with the neighbors. Also, the city of Milwaukee is a key partner in this project. The city, we've been engaged with them. The sheriff's office has been leading that engagement for well over a year. The city's supportive of this project. We've been having regular meetings with them for the last year to talk about some of these site management things, make sure the city concerns are addressed. We've also committed to keeping the city of Milwaukee informed. So Mary, Malcolm, and I will be before the Milwaukee City Council next week to give them a similar presentation that we're giving you today and answer their questions. There's engagement with the city of Milwaukee police chief as well, given that they're likely to be a consumer of this site for folks that they run into. So this responsiveness to the surrounding community is a priority for us. You have our commitment on that. But that is the extent of our prepared presentation for you, so we're happy to take questions.
Yeah, we have questions for you. For those interested, the frequently asked questions start on page 19 of the presentation, if you don't want to go through everything, but the pictures are very interesting. Commissioners' motions we will consider today are on page 5. I have a couple of quick questions. Are any jurisdictions limited to bringing people into this center?
No, I mean, we would encourage and love that all of our law enforcement, including all the cities, have access to this. So I think, part of the conversation for more of the rural community is making sure that this doesn't seem like a barrier. But if they're already bringing individuals to the Unity Center, and people often are just discharged, this is a much better outcome.
And so, but limited to Clackamas County?
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. And
Secondly-
Chair, can I want to add one thing, because of course, open door to all of our law enforcement partners. We have heard concerns about transportation, right? What if somebody's dropped off from Malala and then they're discharged from the facility? So part of the program design will include transportation options to make sure people can get back to their home community.
Okay. Secondly, I see we have a price tag of $4 million. Do we know how much our yearly expenses are that include maintenance on this building and property and program services?
Yeah, we anticipate that each side will cost about $1.5 million per year to operate. We'll know more about that when we get our proposals back from our service providers, but we do have resources budgeted for that. So our health system partners and Health Share, they have put up $1.5 million a year to support our ongoing operations of the behavioral health stabilization side. We've budgeted $1.5 million of SHS funds to support the housing stabilization side. So we have those resources ready and available.
And ongoing maintenance?
Yes.
That, does the $1.5 million per site include ongoing maintenance?
We expect that will be absorbed into those service contracts for the most part, but there are costs associated with keeping the lights on, which will be minimal, and we'll cover those costs within those budgets as well.
Okay, thank you. I have 3 commissioners in the queue. Commissioner Savas, you're first.
Yeah, well, great. I'm glad to see this is making some progress. I have a couple questions. The first one is, can you describe the medical professionals that'll be on site 24/7, their skill sets?
So at this point, and again, the proposers may have a different mix of the staffing model. What will be required is at least an on-call psychiatrist, medical professional. They don't need to be on site, but they do need to be on call. And then 24/7, however the staffing model works for the proposer, would be a master level clinician, a bachelor level case manager, and a peer. And the staffing could change, with more people at more critical times of the day. I think that's going to be part of the development as the proposer, and provider comes on, and we sort of know times of day that we would maybe need more staffing.
Okay. The second part is, and if I'm mistaken, please, correct me, but my understanding is that if a medical professional recognizes that a particular patient has greater needs, right, and maybe they need, I think they can refer them for 72 hours to a different kind of facility. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, our hope, and we're not going to always get it right. Our hope is, one, this is voluntary. So whether it's a mobile team or law enforcement engaging with the individual, they need to voluntarily agree to come here. But really, our sort of model that works currently in like our urgent walk-in, and as I talked with Deschutes too, the individual has to be able to pretty much walk, talk, and eat a sandwich. So somebody who is clearly in medical distress, whether that is somebody who is intoxicated or having other medical concerns, this will not be an appropriate place. And I feel like law enforcement and our mobile teams are really good now at sort of assessing that this really is a transfer, and either mobile teams or law enforcement can put somebody on a designee hold. That's the language that is used for and out of my shop, and then transport to the hospital. The hospital then does decide whether that hold is dropped or not. So the 72-hour, that doesn't really exist today in the way that it used to, because there's just not enough capacity in the emergency room. So we're not always going to get it right, but that's going to be pretty important for us to get it right most of the time.
Right. Well, several years ago, I had a individual that I tried to help. They made it to the hospital. They were first engaged with law enforcement, realized they were suicidal, took them to emergency room. Doctors prescribed that they get to be held for 72 hours for observation at the time, and then they were transferred to another facility. So that was a different county. So in a situation like that, where we discover that these people need greater care, is there a place they can go if they are referred, let's just say the emergency room, and the doctor says, you need to go to another facility. If there's no other facility, then will the emergency room or the hospital hold them for the 72 hours or let them go?
They can hold them. So then they're under a commitment review, and there's that's the 72 hours, that 3 days to make a recommendation about whether they should go to court for a civil commitment hearing or not.
Okay. So, my initial question was, will we have the staff there to be able to discern where they need to be, their welfare, so that they're not released and harm themselves or others? So, we'll have, we won't say custody, but they're under our care and custody at a certain point, even if they voluntarily, arrive there, right? So
There
my
will
concern
always
is,
be an individual who can do a director's hold at the facility. So even if mobile brings, and they realize, I apologize for interrupting, they realize, oh, this person now is actually decompensating, they can actually put them on a director custody hold and have them transported to the emergency room. What then happens at the emergency room, it becomes a little bit out of our control.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner, we have been talking with Providence. Their CEO was here a couple of months ago talking about the Stabilization Center, talking about how we meet our shared needs. They want to handle that side of the house. They're struggling with the other side, right? What we're intending to solve for here. So they're definitely at the table with us to problem solve.
Thank you. Commissioner West.
Can you help me better understand who's doing the medical triaging? So someone's in some type of acute crisis. We don't want him to go. We don't want him to go into the jail. But who's making that determination between? And it could be a very clinical one, and that has to be looked at and assessed correctly between the emergency department and our 23-hour stabilization center. How does that triage work? Who is doing it? As we start to deal with this population.
So the mobile crisis teams that are out of the county, they're always at least 2 master level clinicians or paired with a master level clinician and a case manager or a peer. So they're already doing that today. They're already making that assessment of whether somebody can be stabilized in the community in their home or whether they need to be transported to the hospital. For the city, the cities that have law enforcement, as you know, most of them have also embedded a mental health clinician, again, master level. They can make that determination. So that happens today, every day. So, I feel very confident that we already have a structure of making that assessment. What happens now now is really, as Adam was saying, the individuals that need a little bit more support and we don't feel like we can keep them stable in the community are going to the emergency room, which is really not, and they're going, under sort of a hold that, again, emergency rooms, and they do it all the time, they remove the hold, the person discharges. So this is the in-between.
One quick question. When I looked at and we've talked about this, when I looked at the pictures and the renderings, we actually have dorm rooms on one side, and we actually have more of a temporary recliner side on the other side. Who goes where, and then what type of population is being served in the different parts of the building?
Yeah, and Mary, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the kind of housed population of people that we might see. I think Commissioner West, that really is the primary focus here. So some of the people accessing the stabilization side will be folks with safe, stable housing. Many of them won't. And those who don't slip through the cracks. And so they're welcome to go, if they're folks who are living on the streets, they're welcome to come in, stabilize on the behavioral health side, and go back to the streets. That will happen a lot. But we also want to provide them opportunities to access more shorter-term shelter type option, right? So that's really who will be served on that other side, working with our housing system through coordinated housing access, assessing their housing situation, trying to use that as a bridge to get them into a more permanent.
So is that
housing
other
system.
side more of like a sheltering low barrier than it is a 23-hour? Do they not have to adhere to the same 23-hour requirement?
Correct. They're two separate programs.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And that's the needle we're trying to thread here on that other side, is that it isn't inpatient type services, right? This is really short-term housing stabilization program.
Okay.
But there's a gap there, a service gap that we're trying to fill.
Perfect. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Commissioner Scholl.
Okay. In your document here, you list on the south half, you've got up to 12 adults staying between 30 and 60 days, okay? With 24/7 staff, okay? And then on the north half, it says it's for short and medium-term housing stabilization. How long of a period is that?
I'm sorry, Commissioner. So
Yeah.
if there's something that makes reference on the north half to housing stabilization, that's not quite right. So this is the behavioral health stabilization side is an up to 23-hour program,
Okay.
right? That's the duration that
Okay.
someone can be there receiving services. The
Okay.
south half of the building is the housing stabilization program, where we anticipate their stay will be between 30 and 60 days.
I got you. Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you very much for being patient with our questions. I know I asked my questions before, and you answered them then, and you answered them again today, as probably all commissioners. Yeah, this is a very good plan. We're very excited for it. Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any other questions regarding this? I will entertain a motion for approval of the preliminary design.
And I move to approve the preliminary program design and site management plan as presented today.
Second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved for the approval of the preliminary program design and site management plan for the 23-hour stabilization center. Commissioner Schrader has seconded the motion. Any further discussion on this? Good, very good work, very good work. Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. You're on your way. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Malcolm McDonald in the back. Okay, Gary.
That is all for today, Chair.
Commissioners, good work, long day. I appreciate all of you. Seeing no further business before the commission, we are adjourned.